Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip of Anatomy of the Church and State. Be sure to catch the full episode on Rumble or ChristiansForLiberty.com. Links are in the show description. Gotcha. Yeah. And so the Bible, clearly then does not teach us that evangelism is the only thing the church should be doing, right? There's more to the story than just evangelism, as important as evangelism is.
Yeah. So if you go to Matthew 28, Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples, um, baptizing them," right? And the "go therefore" was definitely an evangelistic command, but it was then to make disciples, which means those people who get saved, you train them, you teach them what it is to follow Christ, you teach them what it is to live in biblical community, and you baptize them. So yeah, the church has a couple different things that it needs to focus on outside the preaching of the word. Evangelism is one of them for sure, but discipleship is a huge part of it. Preaching of the word is a huge part of it. You also have church discipline. You have the importance of keeping purity within the flock as best as you can, and Jesus gives us ways to do that in Matthew 18. So, yeah, the church has varying calls to love their neighbors, to, as we already talked about, to be loving neighbors. They've created hospitals. I mean, Christians created the first hospital, and you can do some of the history on that stuff and the things that are happened, just like I said earlier, with feeding hungry people and reaching nations in drought. Those kinds of things has really been led by the church over the couple thousand years.
Yeah, I think people forget all the wonderful things that the church has done over the years because the secular loves to highlight all the terrible things that we've done over the
Sure.
years, right? That some people have done, and then
And there have been some in the name of Christ.
mm-hmm.
I would argue non-Christians, but in the name of Christ, they've done some horrendous things.
Yep. Yep, and those get highlighted more than anything else that we've done, and we know why. And I kind of told you, when we were talking, like a little bit what's going on with my church. Do you think evangelism in some churches has become an idol of sorts, where that's the only thing we're focusing on, and we'll worry about the other stuff later? And evangelism is it. This is where we're concentrating. Do you see that a
Yeah.
lot?
I think I see it as a ministry philosophy that if you focus on anything more than Jesus, obviously it's an idol, right? So, um, but I think a ministry philosophy is, especially in the seeker church, is that Sundays are for the non-believer. So there's a gospel message every Sunday. There's cool hit music. There's things that are going to be attractive to the non-believer, and that gets them in the door, kind of thing. And maybe it'll get them in the door multiple times, and they can hear the gospel over and over again. And there have been people who have been saved in those environments, and that God is gracious and He's good. Our philosophy here at Redeemer, and I would say matches the scriptures a little bit better, is Sundays. We have Saturday and Sundays. Saturday nights and Sundays for us is for the believer. But we always expect that there's going to be guests, right? And we also are big believers that not only does the non-believer need the gospel, the believer needs the gospel. So I'm 27 years into my faith. I got saved at 27. And now I was a non-believer for 27 years, and now I'm a believer for 27 years, which I just told you my age. And I still need the gospel, Jeremiah. I need to hear the gospel. I need to be reminded over and over again, even as the senior executive pastor of Redeemer Bible Church, I need the gospel, because that battle between the flesh and the spirit is real. Galatians chapter 5, Romans chapter 7, it's a real battle. And I have a real enemy, not only in my flesh, but there's an enemy that prowls around like a roaring lion, right? So I need the gospel. I need to be reminded of why I'm doing what I'm doing over and over and over again. So we give the gospel every weekend, but we also preach in a way that's going to disciple the saints. And so we go through the scriptures word for word, line through line, book through book, and we teach God's word. And we do that for the saints. but we always give a gospel message as well, intertwined with the preaching of the word. Because we're expecting guests. We're expecting people there might be people who have been Christians for 30 years who have been in the church for that long who still aren't saved, right? Mm-hmm. Go to Matthew 7 and read about that. Lord, Lord, didn't we do this in your name? And we did that in your name. And Jesus says, away from me, you evildoers. I never knew you. Well, those people were, in their own minds, they were Christians. They did everything that Jesus asked them to do. They went to church, they served people, they gave money, all these things. But Jesus says, I never knew you. So we preach the gospel at Redeemer every weekend, but our main focus is saints. We want to preach to the saints of God for the purpose of discipleship.